What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be reviewing the new Jackery Explorer 600 Plus. We're going to put it through its paces. We're going to check out all its features, and then we're going to give it an eco score. Let's get into it. All right, so I just ripped off the tab there. I'm going to pull this back. And I like how it gives you little handles on the side. You know, I was just complaining about that with the Anchor. And we have a very cool orange cord there. See, they like to coordinate. Pull that out. This feels heavy like it's something in it, but it's not. And here we are. It's quite light. It reminds me of the EcoFlow River 2 Pro in size, or maybe the River 2 Max. Yeah, with this just two outlets. All right, let's go ahead and check the specs out. All right, so here are the specs directly on the machine. You can go ahead and pause the video here and take a look. All right, when it comes to specs, I actually had to pause the video because I was looking for the solar specs and I couldn't find them. All to find out that this thing does not have a solar input. I mean, you can only charge it through AC and DC through the cigarette lighter. That's insane to me. To me, that defeats the purpose of a power station. If you need power to charge it up, what happens when you don't have power? You can't use the sun. Come on, Jackery. Anyway, let's let's get on with the show. So anyway, as far as important specs go, we have a 632.3 watt-hour capacity, and this produces 800 watts out. This does sport a LiFePO4 battery. At least they have that. And it does have app support. So let's go ahead and take a little walk around the Jackery Explorer 600 Plus. So let's start with the side. Over here we have, oh, maybe that's our solar DC input. Maybe. I don't see it on the box. I'm thinking that's for solar. The word solar is not on this box, it's not on the machine, but I'm thinking that's solar. And I have just the adapter that can fit that bad boy. So we're going to test that out, because on the box it does say that its max DC input is 200 watts. And most car chargers, they only produce 120, 150. I guess if you had a big boy alternator, it might do more. Then you have your nothing, your details. Then over on this side, fan exhaust there. On the bottom, we have these nice little rubber stoppers in orange. And let's move back to the front here. So on the front, we have our cigarette lighter here, with our power button to turn the whole thing on. Let's see where she is. Nice soft button, smooth, not clicky and clacky. We have a light here. Ooh, that bright. That really bright. Ooh, even brighter. All right, flashing. All right. We have two 20 amp outlets, that's really good, with again a pure sound wave inverter. We have our AC button, also very smooth. We're going to test its parasitic drain. We have the DC USB button to turn that on. That's going to remain on, I guess, for 12 hours. You have a USB-C 30 watt output there, USB-C 100 watt, and a USB-A that produces 18 watts. And that is the whole walk around. So let's go ahead and get on with the testing. First up, we're going to charge it up, and we're going to see how fast it charges. Another thing I do want to say about this cable is that it's very pliable. A lot of these cables are like super rigid. This one is not. I just noticed something else. And while the orange is very cool looking, if we look closely, and again, this is straight out of the pack here, it gets marked up pretty easily. So there's a mark. There's another one right there. And that's just from shipping. Another one here. So this might get pretty ugly really fast. Now, before we charge her up, let's get her on the scale. And she comes in at 16 pounds, 2 ounces. So inside the app, it has fast charging, which is considered 475 watts in. But then there's an emergency charge, which they said we don't recommend for ordinary use, just in emergencies only. So let's turn that on and see what she does. All right, it's on. Let's see what happens. 5. Okay, 5. I would say 512 is not very much. 610. All right, all right, here we go. All right, what else? What else you got? All right. Oh, so it says when you go to turn this on that this is will shut off automatically, and it's one-time use. So once you disconnect the AC cord or once it's fully charged, it will stop. But yeah, it seems to be just settling down now at 646 watts in, which is just 200 watts more than the 475. Now, I personally like to charge my devices at 400 watts just to, take care of the batteries. But I really don't feel like 646 watts is a lot. But hey, Jackery says it is. With that said, though, this thing is super quiet. Let's check it out. I'm calling it 65. All right, now we're going to test the parasitic drain. So we're going to turn the AC on right now. We're also going to turn the DC on. We'll set this for 12 hours and we'll see how much it drains in 12 hours. All right, so it's been a little over 12 hours and I want to explain why. So I had this set to auto shut off after 12 hours and I wanted to test and see if it would do that. Generally, with the EcoFlow products, when you set it to 12 hours on a dot, there's a beep. It lets you know that it shut off. The Jackery actually did not shut off and it kept going past the 12-hour mark. So when I checked it at 12 hours, it was about 74, 76%, which is terrible. But it also just kept going. So we're going to redo the 12-hour test so I could be more specific. But since we're here, we might as well do some of the other tests. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and try to max this bad boy out. It's claiming to output 800 watts. Let's see if it does that. First, I just have something backed up because the hairdryer usually does like 700 something. But now I also have a purifier we're also going to connect. So let's start with the blow dryer first. On low. All right, it handled that just fine. This is what I thought. So I'm going to now turn on the air purifier and then this and see what happens. So let's go ahead and turn on the air purifier first. Quite dusty. Put it on high. And let's see, that is producing. Okay, it can't be 0 watts because we see it says it's 17 hours left. Maybe this is just a super efficient purifier. Let's turn this off real quick. So we turn that off and let's just see where the hours remaining goes. So it was, okay, no, that's 17. All right, okay, so it got literally, it was almost doubled by like 99%. So I'm confused. So clearly that wasn't just some small draw. Oh boy, let me go fix something out. Okay, I worked out. I got the 32 watts. I had another setting, but for it to not register, but it registered the hours, the time change. That's also a problem to me. So we found another issue with the Jackery. Again, an update could resolve that. But let's go ahead and turn this on. This should be perfect because this will put us right over 800. So it does do what it claims. Let's go see if I can find something to push this up. Maybe the heat gun. All right, we went on ahead and got the heat gun. Let's turn that on. Start off at low. I'm going to crank this up. All right, turned off. Overload. It never read what it was actually outputting because I got all the way up to 1280 degrees, and it usually would output way more than that. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, 800. What we saw earlier, the 812 is probably its max. All right, so unfortunately, That's not solar in. And so I know this works. It's getting 0, even though I have it laying down. If I plug this into the Pecron, we get 25 watts. It's not much. We have an overcast right now, but there's a 200 watt panel and it's getting something. Meanwhile, this gets nothing. And I tried 2 panels. I tried the Pecron panel and an all powers panel, and I was just not fooling with the EcoFlow because it's so hard to set up. But yeah, nothing there, and that's a flickery screen, whereas that's because that's in color. This is a little flickery, but there we go. 63 watts in. All right, one more try. Still nothing, and we just had a big burst of light. Even still, the Pecron was charging, and that is a budget power station compared to a big 3 Jackery. All right, let's get her all completely charged up and on to some more tests. All right, so we're back at 100%, and we're going to redo the parasitic drain test. Right now, the time is 9:50, and we are going to check this thing in the morning at 9:50. Turn both of these on and go. All right, it is 9:50 a.m., 12 hours on the dot. Let's see where she is. 77% on an 800 watt inverter. I'm thinking that's pretty terrible. That's kind of low. Also, it's really hot. Now, remember, this is a new unit. I would suspect some updates in the future that will make this more efficient and make this not be so warm. It's not hot. You can still touch it, but it is very, very warm. So let's go ahead and record that and put that in our chart. Now we're going to charge this back up and we're going to run our capacity test. So we're at 99%, and my daughter just asked me a good question. She asked me, what is 0.1 hours? How many minutes? And I had to do the math for it, so it should be roughly 6 minutes. But I don't like that because a lot of power stations will just straight up tell you how many minutes are left. You don't have to do any math because, yeah, what is 0.1 hours? So that's another strike for Jackery for me. All right, now we're all charged up. As we can see, 100% there. We have our handy meter here. We're going to now run a capacity test. This is supposed to be 632 watt hours. Let's go ahead and clear this. All right, and we're ready. We're going to use our dehumidifier. Put it on high. Oh, wow. Did we have overload? We did. And this thing only does 200. It must have been a surge, but the surge is supposed to be 1600 watts, and this does not produce that. So that is interesting. Let's try that again. There we are. All right, we're going to have it on high, non-stop. And it's currently only pulling 53 watts. This should increase to about 300. And this should run for just shy of 2 hours. So we'll be back then. Okay, just after a few minutes, this overloaded again, and it was sitting at 54 watts. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, it's still showing 100%, but I'm concerned about connecting this because I actually use this. I need this. So let's go ahead and connect maybe the hair dryer, which might fry, but let's test that anyway. All right, so now we have the hairdryer hooked up. We're back at 100%. We're still there actually, and I'm going to run this on low. This should run for maybe an hour. Let's go. All right, seems to be working good. Let's see how this does. Okay, that didn't work either. It shut off again. Boy. We got down to 98%, and it ran for maybe a minute or so. So I'm kind of out of, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I'm going to just call this inconclusive because that was you saw right under 800 watts. It should have held that perfectly fine. This does about 300 max, sometimes 400 when the condenser kicks on, and it wouldn't do that either. So, defective unit? I don't know. Okay, so I was going to try the capacity test again. And I thought, well, maybe it had got too hot because remember I told you with these on it was warm and maybe it was too warm, but it's 73 in the house. So I decided to charge it back up, right? Plugged in, charge it back up to get it to 100 to try to test again. And it won't charge. It's been like this for about 20 minutes now on 97. You see nothing's coming in, nothing's going out. This is all the way in there. Now I just pull it out. That's all the way in the socket. Let's try again. Now the fan is coming on. Nothing. I give up. All right, so here we are in the Jackery app, and we see the Explorer 600 Plus there. It is forcing me to turn on Bluetooth to get a reading, which is interesting because this is connected via Wi-Fi. So let's turn on Bluetooth and make sure that it can still see. I guess not. Do we need? Oh, there we are. It's reading. There we go. That was, again, a little glitchy. I'm just thinking because this device is new. So in here, we can measure our input if we were charging it, our output from DC and AC, which we see is not specific. I just turned both of the ports on. We see it's not specific either or. They're just showing the general output. We can control the flashlight here. That's low, that's highlight, and that's SOS, but you can't see that. And then we have the screen timeout, which we can do for 2 hours, 2 minutes, or turn it off completely, which it just did. And we have the settings here. Now we can scan the shared devices, which I would assume I must need other Jackery products to use that. We have the name, the emergency charging. We discussed that when we first charged it up. We could turn this on, and as you can see, it's a one-time only, and it'll charge fairly quickly. If we do that, fast charging mode is on. We change to quiet charging mode. And while this looks like I mean, this is a healthy amount of options, but if we were comparing to other products like the EcoFlow, you have way more control over your charge settings. You can actually change how quickly or how much input it's receiving as opposed to just allowing the unit to do it itself. Battery settings, you can fully use it, or battery savings mode, which says it extends battery life by approximately 30%. Says the battery saving mode will limit power consumption and charge capacity, which some of them will, when you activate that, it will only allow you to deplete it down to here you go, 15% and charge up to 80 or 85%. So there we go there. And that pretty much is the Jackery app. We also have your auto off time, which again, as we discussed, does not work. And again, firmware, it's up to date. All right, so the Jackery Explorer 600 Plus. This is my first Jackery experience, and I'm not impressed. I will say, though, that this unit is so bad that it's got to be a software issue. Everything that's wrong with it can be fixed. I won't say everything, but most of the things that are wrong with it can be fixed with an update. I don't like that it's just 2 ports and only 3 USB ports, and only one is 100 watts. I don't care for the light. I would prefer another outlet personally. And it's just funny to me that this has come out in 2024, and the EcoFlow River 2 Pro, which is significantly older than this, is better. I mean, it's better, and they know that that's going to be on sale. So who would buy this? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The River 2 Pro outdoes it in almost every area except for having a light. But anyway, with that said, let's give this an eco score. As you can see from the testing results, the Jackery 600 Plus really didn't perform that well at all. The Parasitic drain had a loss of 23% after 12 hours. The max output was good. The AC input was horrible at 44% from the 1800 watts advertised. Even the warranty itself is an automatic 5 years, only if you purchased it from the Jackery website. After that, I'm assuming you have to register. It doesn't really get into specifics. Now on to the eco score. In terms of price, the Jackery Explorer 600 Plus would have been priced appropriately several years ago. It's $499, and the EcoFlow River 2 Pro is on sale at this point for $429 on their website, which really puts this in a peculiar place because the River 2 Pro is just better all the way around, and it gets a 3. In terms of weight, the Jackery does not feel heavy at all. It's 16 pounds, but I mean, it makes sense because it doesn't have a whole lot going on with it, but it has a great collapsible handle, and it also has a lovely little cushion that really dampens the weight in your hand, and it feels really good, and it gets a 5. In terms of performance, it doesn't. And again, I think that it's probably due to software issues, so I'm going to give it the benefit of doubt in this area and give it a 2. As far as efficiency, again, it's probably software, but we can't keep giving out freebies, and it gets a 1. In terms of features, it does have a nifty little flashlight, but it lacks in ports. AC ports, it lacks in USB ports, it doesn't have wireless charging. The app is okay. It's better than many, but it's not the best on the market, and it gets a 2. In terms of charge rate, it's okay. Again, it's better than the basic units that charge at 200 watts max. It doesn't quite produce the oomph that it advertises, but again, probably software related, and it gets a 3. In terms of warranty, it does offer a 5-year warranty, but it's not automatic unless you buy it directly from the Jackery website, and it gets a 4. And in terms of value, scoring this today, it gets a 1, but we'll give it a star just because we can come back and maybe re-rate this thing after some updates. But this is not worth buying. It cannot be charged using solar. The inverter is a gas guzzler. It doesn't perform well. It kept cutting off, and it then wouldn't charge up just now. I don't know what's going on, but that gives it a grand total of 21, probably one of the lowest ratings we'll see on this rank chart.